Genesis 31 Bible Study Script KJV. Genesis chapter 31 verses 1 to 55. Historical Hebrew, theological, spiritual insight, introduction. God calls us to move by faith. Today, we are going to walk through Genesis chapter 31, a powerful chapter that reveals how God leads his people out of hidden struggles and into his promised direction. From Genesis 12, when Abraham first received the call of God, to Genesis 31, we see a consistent theme. God calls his people to trust him, even when the future is uncertain. In Genesis 31, Jacob has lived for many years in the house of Laban. He has worked faithfully, endured injustice, and grown both in family and wealth. But now, the time has come for Jacob to leave. Not because of his own ambition, but because God himself commands it. This chapter teaches us about divine timing, spiritual obedience, protection, and reconciliation. Let us now journey verse by verse. Part 1. Rising Tension and God's Call. Genesis chapter 31 verses 1 to 16. Jacob begins to notice that Laban's sons are speaking negatively about him. They accuse him of taking their father's wealth. In Hebrew culture, inheritance and livestock were deeply connected to identity and legacy. So when Laban's sons say Jacob has taken their wealth, it creates tension and hostility. Jacob also notices that Laban's attitude toward him has changed. Then something powerful happens. God speaks, "Return unto the land of thy fathers and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee." Genesis chapter 31 verses 3, KJV. This moment is deeply spiritual. God does not merely bless Jacob. He calls Jacob to move. In Hebrew understanding, faith is not passive belief. Faith is obedience in motion. God reminds Jacob, "I am the God of Bethel." This refers back to Genesis 28, when Jacob encountered God in a dream and saw the ladder reaching to heaven. God is reminding Jacob of the covenant and the promise. Spiritual meaning. God often calls us forward when environments become spiritually unhealthy. Sometimes discomfort is not punishment. It is divine direction. Jacob gathers Rachel and Leah and explains everything. Remarkably, both wives agree. They recognize that their father Laban has treated Jacob unfairly. They say, "Whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do." Verses 16. This shows unity and obedience. When God calls, alignment and family brings strength. Part 2. Jacob's secret departure. Genesis chapter 31, verses 17 to 21. Jacob prepares to leave quietly. He takes his wives, children, and all possessions. He does not inform Laban. Why? Because Jacob fears confrontation. Also, in ancient Near Eastern culture, leaving a master's household without permission could be dangerous. At this moment, Rachel secretly takes her father's household idols, teraphim. Hebrew cultural insight. Teraphim were small household gods. They were often associated with inheritance rights and spiritual protection. Rachel may have taken them as a symbolic inheritance claim, or to break from her father's idolatry, or out of lingering cultural attachment. This moment reveals that although Jacob follows God, his household is still in spiritual transition. Growth with God is often a journey, not an instant transformation. Part 3. Laban pursues. Jacob, Genesis chapter 31, verses 22 to 35. Laban discovers Jacob has fled. He pursues him for 7 days, a symbolic number of completion in Hebrew thought. But before Laban reaches Jacob, God appears to Laban in a dream. "Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad." Verses 24. This is divine protection. Even when Jacob does not know what is happening, God is working behind the scenes. Spiritual insight. God often protects us in ways we cannot see. There are battles God fights before we even know they exist. When Laban confronts Jacob, he accuses him of deception and theft. Jacob defends himself passionately. He recounts years of labor, hardship, and integrity. He declares, "God hath seen mine affliction and the labor of my hands." Verses 42. This is a powerful statement of faith. Jacob acknowledges that although Laban did not reward him fairly, God saw everything. Rachel hides the idols and Laban cannot find them. Again, divine covering is evident. Part 4. Covenant and reconciliation. Genesis chapter 31, verses 36 to 55. Jacob now speaks boldly. Years of silent endurance finally find voice. He explains how he served faithfully, endured heat by day and cold by night, and remained honest. Laban responds more softly. He acknowledges that Jacob's family and wealth have grown. Finally, they decide to make a covenant. They set up a stone pillar and a heap of stones called Gilead heap of witness. Mizpah watchtower. The Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. Verses 49. This is not merely a friendly blessing, it is a covenant boundary. They agree not to harm one another. They establish peace and separation. Jacob offers sacrifice and they share a meal together. Then Laban returns home. A long season of tension ends in peace. Theological and spiritual meaning. Genesis 31 teaches several deep truths. 1. God leads by seasons. There is a time to stay. There is a time to leave. Spiritual maturity is recognizing God's timing. 2. God sees hidden struggles. Jacob's labor and suffering were not unnoticed. God sees what people overlook. 3. Obedience requires courage. Leaving Laban required faith. Following God often means stepping into uncertainty. 4. God protects his covenant people. Before conflict arises, God already prepares protection. 5. Peace is better than revenge. Jacob could have fought Laban. Instead, they established peace and boundaries. Application for today. Even today, believers experience Laban seasons. Times of unfair treatment. Times of hidden growth. But God uses these seasons to prepare us. When God says move, we must move. When God says stay, we must stay. When God says forgive, we must forgive. God is not only the God of Abraham and Jacob, he is the God of our journey today. He sees your labor. He knows your struggles. He prepares your future. Trust him. Obey him. Walk with him. He will lead you to your promised place. Closing. May this message strengthen your faith and deepen your understanding of God's guidance. Walk in obedience. Walk in peace. Walk with God. Thank you.